What if the next great war is not decided by bombs or bullets, but by invisible codes, satellites, and machines that think faster than any human commander? Imagine China, a nation with the world's largest standing army and a defense budget second only to the United States, entering a conflict where sheer numbers and heavy weapons are no longer enough. Modern warfare has shifted into a battlefield where algorithms outpace artillery, drones replace foot soldiers, and cyber strikes can paralyze entire nations before a single missile is launched. China's military might, millions of soldiers, thousands of tanks, and advanced naval fleets, stands tall. Yet the real question is, can brute strength survive against the era of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and autonomous weapons? Western powers are investing billions in AI-driven surveillance systems, hypersonic missile defenses, and satellite constellations that track enemy movements in real time. China, on the other hand, has rapidly developed its own drone swarms, cyber warfare units, and hypersonic glide vehicles that can potentially bypass US defenses. But vulnerabilities exist. China still depends heavily on imported semiconductors, struggles with energy security, and faces sanctions that slow down its access to cutting-edge chips. Meanwhile, the battlefield of tomorrow will not be fought only on land or sea, but across digital domains where hackers can shut down power grids, hijack communication networks, or blind satellites. Imagine a scenario where a Chinese aircraft carrier group sets sail in the South China Sea, only to find its navigation systems disrupted by unseen code, leaving billion-dollar vessels stranded. Or picture swarms of AI-controlled drones overwhelming human-piloted jets, changing the rules of air combat forever. This is the war between modern technology and traditional power, where tanks face algorithms and missiles face machine learning. The balance is razor-thin. If wars remain hardware-heavy, China's massive arsenal provides dominance. If wars pivot fully into the digital technical domain, the West's edge in chips, AI, and cyber innovation may crush conventional armies without firing a shot. The most haunting question remains: what if these two forces converge? What if China manages to merge its sheer scale with cutting-edge AI and space-based systems? The outcome would not just redraw borders, but redefine what it means to wage war in the 21st century. What if the decisive moment in a great power crisis happened in 48 hours? This is not a fantasy exercise. It is a focused question about timing, access, and choices. Today we walk through a single, plausible hypothesis: how the United States and its partners could use speed, sensors, and logistics to blunt a large amphibious campaign aimed at Taiwan inside 2 days, and why the result would hinge less on raw bravado and more on rapid global coordination. First, a quick value promise. You'll learn the 6 core levers that define a 48-hour response: detection, alliance access, sea control, air and strike posture, cyber, space denial, and logistics. And one clear takeaway you can share: in modern conflict, time and information often matter more than sheer numbers. Start with detection. The moment a massive mobilization begins, satellites, signals, intelligence, and maritime patrols become the clock. Commercial and military sensors can spot formations and electronic patterns long before landing craft appear. That early visibility turns speculation into choices. Analysts stress that Taiwan's semiconductor ecosystem is a critical vulnerability for global tech supply chains, which is why many planning documents treat rapid detection as Phase 1. Council on Foreign Relations next comes alliance access. A U.S. response measured in hours depends on diplomatic and basing agreements already in place. Years of joint exercises, intelligence sharing, and logistical planning mean that ports, runways, and prearranged corridors can be converted to wartime use far faster than ad hoc diplomacy would allow. Recent analyses emphasize how the U.S. alliance network in the Indo-Pacific is a force multiplier in such contingencies. Sea control is the third lever. Undersea sensors and attack submarines can shape maritime approaches, while carrier strike groups and escort screens create deterrent layers around key choke points. Commanders would prioritize the straits and island chains that funnel ships between the South China Sea and the open Pacific. Note: public war games and expert studies show this is practicable but costly, and outcomes depend on coordination and attrition rates rather than a single decisive blow. The fourth lever is air and strike posture. Modern carriers, with their electronic launch systems and integrated sensors, can sustain high sortie rates and create a persistent air umbrella over shipping lanes and islands. Long-range strike aircraft and precision munitions provide options for selective degradation of an opponent's command and logistics lines without escalating to strategic targeting. Technical briefs on carrier systems underline how launch and sortie capacity can change engagement tempo. Naval Air Systems Command 5th, cyber and space operations reshape the battlefield before a shot is fired. Denying an adversary reliable communications, jamming targeting feeds, and protecting friendly navigation are now central to initial moves. War games repeatedly show that effective information domain operations can produce paralysis in opposing forces and buy precious time for kinetic options to take effect. All these effects depend on the sixth and often overlooked lever: logistics. Airlift, pre-positioned stocks, fuel, repair capacity, and merchant cooperation are the difference between a brief show of force and a sustained posture. In practice, the first 48 hours are a sprint of repositioning, troops, fuel pipelines, and spare parts, while the longer campaign depends on industrial depth. That same literature warns that victory in the short term can carry long costs if supply and sustainment are not secured. So how might these levers combine over 48 hours in plain sequence? Detect and confirm alert allies and open bases. Insert submarines and patrol aircraft to deny easy transit. Land small, well-armed units on forward islands to hold choke points. Surge carrier air power to establish a no-go zone for major surface advances. Use precise strikes on key sensors and logistics nodes, while cyber and space operations sow confusion in the attacker's command networks. Simultaneously, keep commercial routes open with escorts and clear legal and insurance frameworks so global trade does not wholly collapse. This is not a guaranteed script for victory. Open-source war games and expert studies show that defending against a determined amphibious assault is possible, but still risky. Many scenarios end with heavy equipment losses and severe economic fallout, even if the immediate objective, stopping an invasion, is achieved. Those same studies underline two practical truths: speed matters and multinational resolve can multiply effectiveness. Finally, the political and economic pressure generated in the first 2 days can be decisive. Visible coalition unity, combined with targeted risks to an attacker's logistics and command, can create an off-ramp for face-saving withdrawal and de-escalation. That is often preferable to escalation. The single takeaway: in a high-stakes contingency, control of time, space, and information is the strategic currency, not only the size of a fleet. Summary takeaway: Speed X information X alliances run strategic leverage. Repeat that once and you've captured why a 48-hour window matters more than a single headline figure. If you want the next episode in this series, we'll map the same scenario from Taiwan's point of view and explain what resilience measures matter most. If this stood out, subscribe and watch the next story.